JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding on this last day of May, May 31st, 2024. Going to talk really quick about the market's PCE data, some of the names I've traded over the last couple of days, things I'm looking at, and go from there. Take a look at the SPY down 2 sessions in a row. S&P closed down 0.68% yesterday. Under that, the SPY closed under that 525 handle, and it was gap down, and there wasn't really much of a bid in regards to trying to find a bounce. And the markets closed right near the lows. Um, who knows what some of it is? I mean, Salesforce, which has been a monster name over the years, reported weak earnings. I don't know if that's some of it. Then you have the concerns that it's, is this the top in AI and NVIDIA? Yields actually were lower yesterday, so you couldn't really make that argument. But it just feels like maybe some profit taking. That's my hope, right? Is that there's just some consolidation here before the next leg. But then I start to worry if we don't close back over that 524.50, 525 on the SPY. I think 518 comes, and then if that doesn't hold, we have the 50-day moving averages right at 516. Then you have to worry that maybe we have more more pull coming, right? And the people who said sell in May go away are going to say sell in June and go away. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. Yields are actually going lower again after the PCE data came out, which was mostly in line. I guess you could skew it a little bit to the cooler than expected side. So that bodes well. So I think if we can close over 525 on the SPY, that sets things up into next week. And also, ironically enough, despite the market weakness yesterday, the amount of stocks over their 50-day moving average actually ticked up over 42%. So good signs, silver linings. So some individual names, and if you weren't around the chat room yesterday or in FinTwit and you didn't see me talking about HPQ, obviously HPQ was one of my the names that really went bonkers yesterday. I've been talking about it this past week. In regards to almost like a sympathy play on the AI boom, I don't think there's much in the way of AI baked into HPQ, and I'm not saying it's going to have the same kind of opportunity that Dell has or Supermicro, but I think even if it's a small percentage, it's going to be a growth driver for the stock, and the stock has languished for the last 2.5 years, and it's not going to take much for it to be 45, 50, 55. And I talked about it on my rant. If you missed it yesterday, it trades less than 1 times revenues. If it trades 1 times revenues, it's like a 55 stock. It's a 1.4 or 1.5 times revenues like Dell trades right now, or well, used to trade yesterday. It's a $75 stock. So I'm not saying it's the most sexy name, but I really like this one for upside. Locked some of my July strikes in for some nice profits. I added August strikes. I was able to close some of those in for 400%. I'll hold those. CME opened up more strikes on HPQ up into the 55s. I may look for some later strikes into the end of the year because I think if people get the FOMO like they did on Dell, it takes some time. And I don't know if the FOMO is being felt yet on HPQ. So I'll continue to hold the rest of my calls pending any crazy pullback, which maybe if it does, maybe 36. I don't know, but even that, I would probably still hold the calls and then certainly add some more strikes there in HPQ. After the close yesterday, I was talking about Dell first I thought it was 165, then it went to 165. I said, oh, after earnings, maybe 185. Then it went into the 180s. And then, I thought maybe a 210 or 160 move on Dell. And they had what you would expect, a beat and raise, some great commentary, and the stock is still trading substantially lower here in the pre-market, down at 143. I don't think the story much has changed. And you read the headlines, and people say, some of the headlines say, "Oh, they missed earnings estimates," but their earnings declined on a year-over-year basis. It wasn't unexpected. They still beat estimates, but people are trying to find any talking point to rationalize the move to the downside. I think it's just people taking profits. I mean, the stock was 115 bucks to just 4 weeks ago. So I think it trades back into the 160s, 70s, 80s and catches fire again. They still have a tremendous backlog. You have analysts out this morning raising their price target. So I just think it trades higher. So if it holds, well, I said 150. So you look at the spot on that support resistance line. If you pull this up later, or if you look in the chart room, I think if it gets back over 150, that's it. And then blue skies again. I may look for some later dated strikes depending on how much the premiums have creeped out today. That's MDB. I mean, that's Dell. Take a look at MDB. Frustrating. I had the 345 puts last week as a speculative lotto. I was able to lock those in. I guess in hindsight, should have rolled them into this week, but earnings causes the premiums to be elevated, so it was tough on a risk reward basis. Sure enough, I passed, and here's the stock down What was it, 230 right now? I didn't even pull up 238, 236 right now. Danger has some puts, locked some in yesterday to cover costs, and or cover some of his costs, and he's holding some, so he's gonna have a payday at the open. Disappointing, but I put it on the watch list already. I think if he can hold here 235 or so, it might be a bounce play. So depending on how the premiums look, I might look for some lotto calls there on MDB. Broadcom, my spec puts starting to come back to life. I closed some in at the end of the day just to cover some costs. I don't know if I'm going to get the chance to cover the rest in, depending on what it opens here, but I'll probably do two things. One, if I'll just hold them as a hedge for today, and then two, if I get an opportunity to close the last out to cover the rest of my costs, I'll do that as well. But similar to MDB, it's one of my hedge, always be hedging, so I'll continue to look for that one. Funny, Salesforce reported earnings this week, and it had its biggest drop in years. And ServiceNow, which was one of my hedge trades, I probably should have taken on in lieu of doing Broadcom, sold off in sympathy. So that would have been a crazy payday on ServiceNow. But rants for other days. That's a AVGO cavagroup all the way up to 97 yesterday. My lotto spec calls that I sold for some nice profits would have been $7 from 18 cents. So it was a 3,500% gain, right? So 180 bucks. Let's say you got 10 contracts, 180 bucks into seven grand, or 1,800 bucks into 70 grand, however you want to phrase it. But crazy story. I put it on the watch list yesterday as well after I got out of my lotto strikes. I think it goes over 100 bucks, but it's gonna be tough to trade. So maybe if it dips, maybe I'll look for an opportunity. Otherwise, it's probably blue skies, and I'll probably just sit on the sidelines. That's CAVA Group. TERN finally over $7 yesterday, right at the end of the day. Nice push from 685 all the way over $7. If it can hold over 7 today, I think it's blue skies. And 850 is the next spot. If it gets through that, you get the FOMO as folks look to trade some of these or find some undiscovered GLP-1 names. I think TERN is front and center in regards to that space. And then last but not least is AI. So C3 AI, I added some speculative lotto, well, yeah, I guess you would call them lotto calls into next week. If I keep saying it's a divisive name, so I expected it to sell off and not return to highs, or that's the reason why I didn't add some calls yesterday. And then sure enough, goes down to 26 bucks. I'm thinking, oh, here we go again, deja vu. And then it bounces. And then it was right near the highs of the session into the close. It was 29.19, right near the end of the day. So I went and got some of those spec calls. If it's green today, I might look for some further out strikes, because I think this could be the start of a move into the mid to high 30s on AI, or back into the mid to high 30s like it did in March. I think that's it, folks. We got 35 minutes till the open. I'll be back on the audio later. Let's have a great day. Rock and roll.